What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are having a nice day. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and today I am here. We're going to have a follow up conversation from the All Black National Convention to talk about the state of hip hop. Hip hop's been in the national media, in a pretty big way recently, largely because of what just happened with Travis Scott and Astroworld, but we've been talking about hip hop for a long time, as you guys know, on this platform. And so, in order to dig into this topic and sort of look at the state of hip hop and where we're going, and we're going to have different guests kind of circulating in throughout the night. I want to start with Jay Ortiz. Jay Ortiz is out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. How you doing today, Jay?
I'm awesome, man. What's going on, Doc?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. So everybody say hi to Jay. And so let's just start with the top, man. First of all, the convention was great, man. You did a great job at the All Black National Convention, and you and the panelists had a great conversation. Looks like we got D1 coming through, and Akila Nihunda's coming in a minute. What's going on, D? How you doing?
What's going on? How y'all doing? I'm great. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we sure can. We sure can. And let's just start with jump right in. All right, so let's start with Astroworld, right? So Astroworld was a pretty big event. First time I heard about it was when I went to Houston for a thing that Willie D was doing, and I saw these white kids with backpacks, and they looked excited, like they were going somewhere big. And I said, "Where are you going?" They said, "We're going to Astroworld." I was like, "What the hell is Astroworld?" And they told me all about it, and I learned about Astroworld from like some white college students. And but as you all know, this week, hey D, I'm gonna mute you because it looks like I'm hearing a little bit of background noise. Let me there was a whole conversation that we had on the elevator about Astroworld and what it represented, and I looked into it, right? So this year, you heard, that a lot of people got killed, a lot of craziness happened, and actually, I want to start with Jay. I think you're the youngest in the group. What are your thoughts about just everything that's been going down? Just the chaos. I mean, did it surprise you to see that happen? I mean, do you think this could happen in any concert? Oh, I muted Jay. Hey Jay, I think you're muted. You got to unmute yourself.
Hey, yeah, my thought, tragedy, right? That's plain and simple. But am I surprised? I'd be lying if I told you that. Because I've been inside of a Travis Scott mosh pit before, like legit. When I was like 24, it was at Made in America, right? And I mean, I felt where it was like I told myself I'll never do that again. You know what I'm saying? So to see all of that happen and unfold the way it did, shocking, but not shocking, And it was a shame that it went down, especially with over 10. I think what are we at now, Doc? 10 people, including maybe 3 or 4 children, right? Yeah. That's that's unheard of at this point. But yeah, I think it's extremely sad. But I think it's a lot going on with that, man, and it's hard to figure out right now who's to blame, right? Like, are you blaming Travis? Do we blame Live Nation? Do we blame parents for having their kids there? It's really like a lot where that's up in the air. So yeah, it's a tragic situation. I think it could have been prevented if the proper security and proper precautions were taken, because Travis Scott shows are always like this, right? This isn't the first time that there's been a mosh pit at his show. He legit does this. This is what he's known for. You know what I'm saying? This is how he gets his brand marketing. This is how he gets Fortnite deals. This is how he gets McDonald's deals. This is how he gets Jordan deals. You know what I'm saying? So this is literally the reason of people dying is literally the reason that they hire him, though.
Okay.
Like, if that makes does that make sense? Like, that's the reason of the people's demise, that, you know what I'm saying? That whole thing of everybody being rumbled over, that's what got people excited about Travis Scott in the first place.
So it sounds like D, it sounds like it's good until it's not good no more, right? That it's all cool until it's not cool. And to Jay's point, when I was looking at the mosh pit culture, it was kind of crazy. I mean, it was like just dudes just going in the middle of a circle and like punching each other and pushing each other and all this other. I mean, so one of the things I thought about though was that it's not like we're just now finding out that that there could be. that there could be a dangerous element to hip hop, right? We know that there's some areas, segments of hip hop, if you will, where it's not so healthy, right? I know, but really, I don't even know if this whole incident is really as much a judgment about the culture around Travis Scott and the music that he makes, as much as it's just about bad execution of a concert. Are we making too much of this? I mean, do you think it was just a matter of like, well, Live Nation just not properly protecting the people at the concert? Do you think that there's more to this than just than just the technical aspect of it all?
Definitely, a big portion of this does have to do with the ball being dropped in terms of proper execution of a concert. A concert should never turn into an event that has potential, for innocent concert goers to die and to be, severely ill because of this or just severely injured. That should never be the case. So the ball was dropped there. But in addition to this, there is an infatuation that we have in hip hop with the wild side. There's an infatuation that we have with rebellious behavior, and it's cool if what you're rebelling against is something like racism or discrimination or things that are meant to, to hold. That's cool. But when we become infatuated with rebelling against civilized behavior, that's a problem. When we become entrenched in wanting to constantly show how close we can get to doing something deadly or destructive without actually it happening. It's all good for people to rap about murder until somebody gets murdered. And that's a big problem. It's all good, when it comes to concerts and we talk about mosh pits, it's all good to see that happen and it gets celebrated until it actually goes too far. And I think it's about figuring out how do we learn how to still celebrate creativity and art that doesn't have to walk along the lines of being so negative and so destructive. And I don't think we have fully figured that out yet in hip hop. I just don't think we've figured it out yet. And the people who have figured it out are made to seem like, oh, that's too safe, or that's not cool. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of, we'll just pat that on the back and say that's cute, but that's not really what we want to celebrate. And we have to learn how to celebrate stuff that's also socially, morally, and I would say intellectually responsible.
So, Madam President, unmute your mic if you can. I'm gonna go to you because I want to ask you this question about morals. D used the word morals, and when I think about morals, I think about the poor kid. The poor 9-year-old boy, Ezra Blount, who just died. And just to tell everybody the story about what happened with Ezra, based on what I've seen, effectively, his father took him to the concert. And the first question a lot of people asked was the obvious logical question, which is, why is a 9-year-old at a Travis Scott concert? I never thought of it as a place that would be conducive or healthy or safe for a 9-year-old. But his father didn't seem like a dumb person. His father seemed like a guy that said, look, I wanted to protect my son. So he was on my shoulders. We were in the back because we thought that that would be safe. And it turned out that the back was the worst place to be because they got crushed. His father got crushed and he passed out. And when he passed out, the boy fell to the floor and got trampled to death. When I think about morals, Madam President, I think about, what the hell was going on at the concert? Was the music that good? Were the drugs that effective that you didn't notice that you were stepping on the head of a 9-year-old boy? I that's the part I'm really trying to understand. I mean, again, I ain't never been at a Travis Scott concert. I'll never be at one. But can you help me? I mean, is there something to be said about that? Just in terms of what has to be really that interesting that you don't even realize that you about to murder a 9-year-old kid and step on his face? Madam President?
Absolutely, Dr. Watkins. First of all, it's good to see everybody, all my family. I'm glad to see you all. But we are dealing with a group of people who lack morals. And most of all, we're dealing with a group of people who are always high. Travis Scott is high. He likes drugs. And a lot of times he likes to be on stage high. And this is what happens when you are high all the time and you have something called a mic in your hand and you have too much control and too much power. This is what happens when the devil has power. But we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about the effects of being high. But let me tell you something, because a lot of people think Madam President don't come from the real deal. I got an uncle in jail for murder that I've never had a chance to meet because he killed a woman when he was high. A lot of things happen when you are under the influence, when you are high, when you are on drugs, you are out of your mind. And when you are out of your mind, you got a lot of people that lose their life in return. Come on. We cannot act like that this young man is not responsible. He is the cobra. He is fully responsible. And just like he's responsible and this blood is on his hands, and whether he was fully aware, cognizant or not, blood is on his hands. And the people around, just basically being in this environment, I would not be the person to go to this kind of concert because of this lack of safety. I wouldn't go to the concert because I know the kind of people that will be there. It ain't gonna be the same folks out there seeing Erykah Badu and Raheem and all them other folks, that do the blues and the soul folks. It's gonna be a different environment. When it comes to Travis Scott, it's not, he has the same morals on that stage and on that mic that he has in the studio. The same morals that got him the record deal, the same morals that led people to that day, to the grave. So we have to ask ourselves oftentimes, if a Travis Scott was a CEO over a company, which he is, he's the CEO of his own company, whatever that is, and if the behavior that, if I was a CEO over the Freedom Company and people was coming to see me and I started telling them and inciting them and people end up dead, I would be fully responsible. I would lack morals. I would be accountable for that. So I think Travis Scott and this entire, everybody around him, this is what happens when you just live in that high life that people like to act like is going so well. This is what happened. Ain't nothing good behind it. You got to come down off that high, Dr. Watkins.
Okay.
This is what happens.
Well, let me, that's a heavy point you made. I mean, and I think that's 100% real. I mean, I think anybody in the chat who just heard what Madam President said, give me a yes in the chat if you know somebody in your family that's been affected by drugs in a negative way. If you know somebody that's been killed over drugs, is addicted to drugs, couldn't be there for the kids, hurt somebody while they were under the influence and end up going to jail. This is real. Nobody really talks about that. But when you promote the drug culture, that's unfortunately a lot of people end up in harm's way. They don't even know it. You're 17, you just copying what a rapper did. You ain't talked to that guy that's 50 years old who got sent to prison at 19 over something he did while he was high and literally had to miss watching his children grow up. Because in fact, and I hope you don't mind me mentioning, Jay, you and I both have fathers that have had to face the system, right? And I know a lot of other people who do, right? So I think, and my father specifically went to jail for drugs. He was not there for me because the drugs were better than raising a child, right? So I think that's a real conversation that isn't had enough. What do you think? I mean, you think we're just being too serious? Akila, is Akila in? Looks like Akila's having some trouble with her stream. I'd love to hear what Akila Nihunda has to say about it. She's kind of popping in and out. Akila, can you hear us?
I can hear
you know what?
But yeah, I'm really having trouble with the stream. Can y'all hear me?
You know what? You're going in and out. So maybe if you want to call in, you can, and or we can bring you in at a different time when the connection's better. Everybody, that's Akila Nihunda, and Akila Nihunda is just a superstar as a hip hop artist and extremely good. And I'll bring her in. We'll figure out what we can do with the connection. But so let's go back to you, Jay, because you're the youngest in the group. And I probably sound like my wife makes fun of me because she says I sound like an old man shaking his fist at the air. So how do I balance that, right? If I'm an old man if I'm 50, I'm not 25, right? And I've seen what drugs do to people. I've seen, what a dope addict looks like when he's out in the street and all this other stuff. He's 45 years old, and they raise his kids or whatever. And I'm trying to say that to young people. How do I bring that message without making it seem like I'm being old fashioned or too restrictive? What do you think? Oh, Jay, can you hear us? We are having trouble.
I'm sorry, I've been muting my mic. My fault.
Okay, go ahead.
I think sometimes it's not about how you say it or what you say. I think it's literally just the age gap, right? Like if you're late 40s, early 50s, and you're trying to tell somebody 17 something, when you were 17, you didn't really want to listen to nobody that was in their 40s. Right? You just like whatever you're talking about, even if it's the right thing, you weren't really trying to hear it. So I mean, it's just us finding the right people to represent you and get your message out, like you're doing now, right? When you talk to me, you talk to Madam, us kind of spreading that message, talking to young people, because I think that's sometimes what it is. Like my little sisters are 12, I'm 30 years old, right? She don't want to listen to nothing I gotta say, right? Like, and I'm telling her everything out of love, but when I get her little girlfriend to tell her the same exact thing, it's like, oh, okay, like you know what I'm saying? So that could be, a better approach, but I think you're already on the money with it. I think the people that want to listen are listening to you already. You know what I'm saying? Some people just aren't going to agree with your message, and you're never going to get them. But I think the people that you're reaching out to, they're getting it. You know what I'm saying? You're using the right ways. Like you got me, you got Madam, you got D. We're preaching your message for sure, and I think people are paying attention, especially a lot more younger people than you think.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, and I don't think it's, the goal is not to be preachy. I mean, I'll say this, I remember you being 20 and 25 or whatever, like it was yesterday. And I did listen to people that were older because they warned me about what was ahead, if I didn't listen. And I had friends that didn't want to listen and they paid a price for that. So D, what do you think, man? I mean, how do you are, you're a great hip hop artist. So everybody who doesn't listen to D1 music needs to listen to it. I mean, this brother has so much energy and talent. It's ridiculous. And a lot of the artists in the industry. You roll the way you roll. Be real, be righteous, be relevant. You are a proud Christian and a proud Black man. All these things, but not every artist you bump into carries that same energy, and you've had to kind of deal with that. How do you draw the balance? If somebody says, well, "What do you think about what happened at that concert?" How do you tell the truth without being oppressive toward other people's perspectives?
To me, the truth is something that I always try to deliver without concern for how many people are going to love me and celebrate me for it. There's been a lot of leaders in history who have not been celebrated for delivering the truth, no matter how they package the truth. Sometimes everyone isn't going to be receptive to it, but as the messenger, it's our job to just deliver truth. So for me, the more that I worry about other people's opinions, the more I'm going to try to dilute the truth that I've been sent here to deliver. So I just, at all times, I ask myself, what is right and what is responsible, in this moment, in this situation. And sometimes speaking on what's right may not equate to what's popular. That leads to me having to call some of my fellow hip hop artists out at times, because what they're doing may not be right. It may not be responsible, but it also may not be popular to call them out. And my thing is, that's why we're put here as brothers and sisters, because we, to be your brother's keeper, sometimes you have to put your brother, you have to put him in line and say, hey, what you're doing right now is not going to help us all win the game that we're trying to win. And the problem is that everyone in hip hop is not in it with the same end game in mind. Some people are simply in hip hop and they could care less about the integrity of the art form, or they could care less about the message that they put out there, or they could care less about them being used as a pawn and as a puppet for a greater game that's at play, that's ultimately destroying our communities. They could care less about that. They're just about how much money can I pull out of this game. And that's the difficult part is, they say what, all skin folk ain't kin folk, you know what I mean? And I think that's very accurate when you see some of our fellow brothers and sisters who are in this game, but we don't have the same end game in mind to uplift, empower, and educate our community while entertaining them. So once I realized that there's people in this game for a different purpose than me, then I have to switch up the tactics. You can still lead with love, and I do still lead with love, but I'm also not shy about calling people out when it's needed. You know, when I know that it's for the greater good of the community, and when it's for the future generations that they need representation, they need someone to be willing to stand up even when.
Oh, and it looks like D froze again. And it looks like Keelan Hunter's coming back. So D and Aquila just keep popping in and out, but that's okay though, because you know you gotta make. Yeah, I sure can. Yeah, I sure can. And I will always make an accommodation for Keelan Hunter because you gotta just adjust for the superstars. So if y'all have not checked out Aquila Hunter on Instagram, you have to check her out. Super innovative, super sharp, super talented. I could not wait to hear also. In addition to what D said, so maybe piggybacking off of that, let's start with the Travis Scott thing. You live in Houston, right? Is that right?
Yeah, I live in Houston.
Okay.
I'm like 30 minutes from where every thing went down.
Okay, so when we talk about the who's responsible for what happened at Astroworld, a lot of the obvious conversation went toward Travis, right, and what Travis did or did not do. But then people start talking about Live Nation. They start talking about NRG Stadium. They start talking about all the moving pieces that are required to make a concert happen. So how do you how have you assessed this in terms of things you've noticed about who's responsible for what happened down in Houston?
Well, I will say that I do believe that Travis, he encourages raves, he encourages rowdy behavior. And so, you know what you're getting yourself into when you get to the concert. This is something that he promotes. Now, they say there was only 2 people who had the authority to stop the concert, the executive producer and another person. However, I do believe that the performer has the ability to stop the concert because all you have to do, and he has done it before over a pair of shoes, is stop performing and tell the audience, I'm not going to continue until so-and-so, so-and-so. It happens all the time. Going back to what our sis said about him maybe being high and, there's a lot of drugs going on. That's definitely something that could have impacted him even observing and noticing that people are fainting, passing out, dying right in front of his eyes. So his whole team failed. You understand? So I don't take out any responsibility because some people are trying to say it's not his fault. I can't say that he is completely innocent because of promoting that type of behavior. So
interesting. Okay. Yeah. I my assessment is similar in the sense that, it seems to me that there's a lot of accountability that has to go around. And I guess everybody's going to be pointing fingers because now you're talking about a lot of money. We talk about, I think attorney Ben Crump has filed like 100 lawsuits. Like it was 98, but it was 98 and counting, right? So over 100 lawsuits just from that one lawyer, from all the people that got hurt. Because one thing people aren't talking about is you had the 10 that died, but you had hundreds that got hurt, like very seriously. So, it almost speaks to the other side of the wild side, right? The wild side's got 2 sides, right? It's got the fun side and the side that ain't so much fun. So let me ask you. So Jay, just as an artist, kind of seeing how this goes down and looking at it all from just a business standpoint, did you learn anything in terms of like what you observed about just the business side of hip hop? Because now everybody's thinking business, right? Okay, who's liable? Who's gonna pay? I think Live Nation is a subsidiary of Jay-Z's Rock Nation. Is that right? Isn't Jay-Z connected somehow? Jay, I think you're muted, Jay.
My fault. I was like, I think Live Nation might be on top, but I could be wrong. But as an artist watching unfolded, I wouldn't say that it's No, I mean it does make me a little bit more cognizant as a businessman. But Doc, you know, especially that every show that I've ever really performed at besides yours, I put my own shows on. So I'm the one working out the insurance of the show. I'm the one working out who I'll be the one to stop the show if something like that was to happen. You know what I'm saying? Whenever there's a mishap, I'm the one pretty much controlling everything. So I completely, you know, I definitely I get what was happening. I have never dealt with 50,000 people at one time, right? So that is a whole nother ball game. But yeah, I mean, as an artist, you want to be either, you know what I'm saying, you want to be in control of something like that, because or you kind of don't want to, but I would want to be in control of that, because when something like that happens, you want to be able to have that authority, or at least be able to, that people would know you have the authority to stop the concert, you know what I'm saying? And you want to be in control of, you know what I'm saying, the security. You want to be able to just plan better. They really wasn't playing well at all, you know what I'm saying? For they sold out, they sold 5,000 more tickets, you know what I'm saying? The insurance policy isn't really that much when you see all the people that are getting hurt. I think it was like 25 million. But I think that's going to be, you know, that's going to have to go a lot farther because of all these different lawsuits. So it's just different things that it shows you to be in place of. But yeah, I'm definitely, you know, kind of glad I've never had to deal with 50,000 people yet.
Well, you know, just for the record, so everybody can know, I looked it up, and it turns out Live Nation is not a subsidiary of Rock Nation. Rock Nation is a subsidiary of Live Nation. So Jay-Z brand is part of Live Nation was formed with a merger with Ticket, I guess back in 2010, and their CEO is a guy named Michael Rapino. The company made 1.8 billion in revenue last year, and also they have about 10.5 billion in assets. And the reason that that's important is because, and a lot of that's debt, actually. I got to go look and double check, but they have a lot of debt. But the reason I'm thinking about that is because I'm wondering, you know, when you talk about these lawsuits, and I didn't mean to make this all about the Travis Scott thing. I want to talk about hip hop in general, but I think the Travis Scott thing just is such an interesting thing to observe, is that when these lawsuits get filed, the question is, how much is a life worth? You know, how much it could be, into a jury could say, you know, it's worth 65 billion.
How much is a child's life worth, Doc?
Boom.
Children,
exactly.
Right? How much are their lives worth? Right? And I think I've heard, and mind you, I did a little research earlier. I think you can get up to like 300 million for a life. But I could be incorrect, but I did a little research earlier, and I think that's like how much the most you could possibly get. But how could you tell a parent that their 9-year-old child's life is worth 300 million? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's gonna be interesting, right? Because if they get, I mean, imagine having to settle, you know, I don't know, I guess 10 lawsuits for 300 million each. That's 3 billion. And then you got, you know, all the
hundreds of other.
Yeah, hundreds. So it's interesting to watch. Now, Madam President, I'm gonna go to you because I'd like to get your thoughts on you know, going beyond Travis Scott, you know, so not just talking about Travis, but generally speaking, you know, it's interesting to me because it almost seems like people responded to the Travis Scott concert mainly because it was the people that died were like white college students mostly. You had the black boy, of course, but a lot of the people that died, you know, they'd say, you know, this is, you know, Tiffany, who was a student at such and such a university, and there was an Indian guy who was a college student, right? And you know, and here's what's interesting to me is that this year alone, 200 rappers died. Like this year alone, 200 rappers. And you and I are both from Chicago, and we know that in Chicago, you got death happening all the time. Jay, you from Philly, you got death happening all the time. Akila, you from Houston, you got death happening all the time. D is from New Orleans, you got death happening all the time, right? Y'all get the pattern, right? And it's interesting to me that none of that ever makes the headlines. Like there's no conversation about any of that hardly, not in a significant way. But you have 10 people that die, the 10 college students get killed. Then suddenly it's like, oh, what's going on? This is dangerous. Am I seeing too much there, or do you think that there's like a racial element there, Madam President? You are muted.
Well, of course, whenever we're dealing with mainstream media, we're dealing with a high level of, you know, racism, where they're headline white deaths over black deaths and white women who's missing over black women who's missing. We have all of that. But I do think commonly, anytime, just from a news perspective, anytime this is happening in one setting, it's breaking news. This is one setting that all of this happened. This isn't just, you know, over time in Chicago, people dying daily, as you mentioned. It's to the point where it's so desensitized in Chicago. Death is so desensitized. It's insane. My father was killed in Chicago. My father was killed in 95. His brother was killed 25 years later. Okay. My first cousin, her father was killed in Chicago last year. I got an obituary of people in my house, that people who've been killed in Chicago. It doesn't always make the news. And even how they die don't even make it's insane. Like on a daily basis, death's just happening. We not getting news coverage. We ain't getting nothing. Ain't no 100 million hitting the door. Ain't nobody ever came and said, Madam President, your father's been killed. We want to help you excel in America. It don't happen that way. But the reality is, Dr. Watkins, I do believe media has all types of biasness. That's why Black media is important. And most times, but I do believe that this was breaking news because it was all in one setting. And I do believe that it was all in one setting. Travis Scott was the headline, and rightfully all of the media towards him and accountability should be that.
Well, it is interesting you say that, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts on this, D. It looks like D bouncer. D and Aquila are just trading places. When one comes in, the other one goes out. I hope it's not something with StreamYard.
I think it's because we're using our phones, and it's so much. I think it's too powerful for the phone versus a computer. And I'm not by a computer, but but I was gonna just say this one thing. Being in Houston, every day on the radio, there's constant commercials for lawyers. If you want a lawyer, if you were at the Travis Scott concert, every time you turn on the radio, it's very interesting. If you were, and it's all these different lawyers, all these lawyers are trying to get clients. It's very interesting. Mm-hmm.
So it almost seems like people, and Akila, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. It almost seems like there are people that profit from Black death. Like whatever harms us, it's helping somebody else. Somebody else is making money.
Oh yeah.
It seems like that's the constant theme, right? Like we're gonna market Black death, and then when death happens, we're gonna make money from it. At what point as a community are we able, or do we, just say no to that? Like, what do you think in terms of ways we can kind of confront and address that? Because I'm looking at the corporations, I'm looking at the Live Nations and the Apple Musics and everything else. Why are you allowed to market things that are killing our young people, but you can't do that to other communities? You can only do that to us.
They're only carrying out what their ancestors used to do when they used to lynch us and cut off our body parts and sell it in stores. You know what I mean? Like they're continuing the process of capitalizing off of Black body parts, Black organs, Black death, taking pictures, making postcards. So we see this in history. And so all they're doing is doing it now in a corporation type of way, a corporate way. So the only way we can stop this is if we as a people wake up and say enough is enough and understand our value and actually see. A lot of us are blind to the fact that all of this is going on. If you ask the average Black person, they might say, oh yeah, I know that the system is against us. But at the same time, they still don't fully get the concept of how they are playing a role in keeping this going, and that we make it easy for them to do this. So the only way we're going to stop that is to get knowledge of self, to wake up to our value, and to just stop being blind about it. And, talks like this, conversations like this, I think it helps that. And we need to, teach our children at a young age, what's really going on. When I was little, I was always taught who my enemy was. When I was 2 years old, I knew who my enemy was. So none of this stuff surprises me.
Okay. So, and by the way, I'm speaking with, it looks like she just popped out right at the end of that question. I'm speaking with Jay Ortiz, Madam President, also Aquila Nihunda, and D1, and we're talking about hip hop and whether or not hip hop is toxic. Hip hop is deadly for Black people, and why nobody really cares about that. And so if you could do us the favor, please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button if you haven't done it yet. And I'm going to say this. I think that it seems to me that a big challenge we have is ownership of media, control of our image, to the rest of the world. People are able to make us look like buffoons, and then they market the buffoon image, to everybody out here. And they just, think only God knows what about us as people, and we get treated accordingly. So what do you think, Jay, in terms of, from your perspective, as an artist, you're also a fashion icon, and you paint, you do amazing portraits, or I don't know, call them portraits or paintings that you did at the convention. You did really well with that. What do you think as an artist in terms of how you draw that balance? Like when you're observing, on one hand, you're observing all the opportunities in hip hop, but also on the other hand, you're observing the reality of living in a place like Philly where people just dropping like flies. How do you strike that balance to just sort of know how to be an artist that expresses yourself while at the same time not being sucked into sort of the death trap that's marketed by corporate America? Because it almost seems like it kills your ability to be an artist. Because to me, an artist is a person who expresses a range of emotions, a range of possibilities, a range of feelings. But if everything that you're rapping about ends up with popping mollies and killing somebody, that to me is not really art anymore. It sounds like you fit in a profile, like almost like a puppet. What are your thoughts on that, Jay? You are muted.
I was gonna say, could you narrow the question down just a little bit for me?
Yeah.
I had a large answer, but can you narrow it down just a little bit?
Okay, I will narrow it down. How do you go as an artist? How do you balance between creative expression versus the impact of the words and the deeds of the artist? Like, do you think an artist should not have any responsibility for their words, or do you think that as an artist, there's a line you have to draw to say, okay, I can't go across that line?
Well, I think you have to have responsibility for your words, right? I think that people don't understand that the music, and I like to tell people the music industry is almost as like wrestling, where kids didn't know it was fake. Like so a lot of guys you see are your futures that don't drink lean, and all your people, they don't really do this stuff. This is a gimmick. So as an artist, if you don't want to fall in that line, you have to be accountable for what you say. An artist like myself, I can admit it, I've made songs that probably my lifetime that probably wouldn't represent where I'm at in life right now. But I never made any money off that kind of stuff either, right? I learned that I started really making money when I started being true to my real vision and like my message, and linking up with you, and linking up with fellow artists that are on my message. So and I also, me and Akilla, we both went to Howard, right? We were in the School of C, and it's funny because one thing I learned at the School of C was that I would never ever be a sports anchor, right? And the reason because of that is what you said that this whole conversation was about, or this thing was, I learned at Howard that we didn't have control of the media. I learned that we had no control when, like, I was going to be a news anchor. Like I'm saying, that was what I was school for. And at school, while taking class and while really understanding it, as you can see, Doc, I've never tried to be a broadcaster. I gave all that up. When I went to school and learned, I was like, oh, we don't control any of this. I was like, half of the stuff that's headline, they only going to write the headline that makes you read it, right? It's not even about if it's true or not. You know what I'm saying? So as an artist, you got to take control of this stuff. If you don't, your kind, for the most part, is not in control of anything, whether it's news, sports, TV, music, radio. We are not at the head of anything, no matter what it looks like on the outside.
I think it's a good point, and it seems to me that the goal is to understand the importance of controlling our own media, right? Like we have to sort of attack this thing at a business level, not just at an entertainment level, right? It's one thing to ask an artist to rap about something different, right? Like stop rapping about Molly, stop rapping this. I mean, we get that, but if he is a puppet that's got a puppet master that says, if you don't rap about this, I'm gonna whoop your ass and take your money, then that means you're not talking to the right person. It's almost like when you go in the store and they, that old, I don't know if you ever heard that old rule where they say never take no from a person who doesn't have the authority to say yes. but that's like the rule. Like you go in the store and you're like, I need a refund. Well, if the person's not authorized to give you a refund, you don't need to talk to that person. You need to talk to their boss, right? So when I think about artists, that I've had, interesting interactions with, like I think about starting with Lil Wayne and the kind of weird interaction we had back in 2013. I didn't really go talk to Lil Wayne. I talked to Lil Wayne's boss. Lil Wayne's boss was Mountain Dew because they were sponsoring his world tour. We got Mountain Dew to cancel the fucking world tour. It's like, fuck you. You can't say these things about black people and think that that's okay. That's not cool. Same thing. Tyler, the Creator. We have the back and forth, but it's like I'm not really arguing with you because you are a puppet. You don't have power, right? I'm talking to your boss. Same thing, Lizzo. When I talked about the stuff with Lizzo, promotion of unhealthy habits that are not beneficial to black people, that destroy the images of black women, people thought I was talking to Lizzo. I was never talking to Lizzo or about Lizzo. I'm talking about Lizzo's boss because Lizzo does what her boss tells her to do, right? All these artists, most of them, not all of them, but many of them are the product of a machine. There's a corporate machine. The machine is Apple. The machine is whoever those other companies, Universal, right? And I personally think that it seems that as black people, and Madam President, I'll pass the ball to you on this. It seems to me that as black people, we have to learn how to play the game at that level to understand that, look, I want to speak to your manager. Like you do when you go to a restaurant, they mess up your order and they're not giving you the right answer. Let me speak to your manager. What do you think, Madam President, about what I said? By the way, you're muted.
Thank you, Dr. Watkins. I just want to say, Jay, it's interesting seeing you as a newscaster, by the way. I can actually see it now that you said it, but I was going to say that, the woman has a role in how men respond. There was a time where, men used to dress really nice because when you dress a certain way, women like that, right? So when a man like, I need a suit jacket, it wasn't just to get a job, it's because women like men that had on suits. So since the beginning of time, women have had influence over men, okay? Because men want women to like them. Now, what white supremacy has done to black men and black women is have made us hate one another. We divide and conquer, right? So men don't straighten up for women anymore, and women don't straighten up for men anymore. And that's a problem, because guess what? Those same people don't straighten up for their children. They don't straighten up to be, parent over the household, like a family that has become just past. We ain't on that no more. We Netflix and chilling. We the only group still trying to Netflix and chill. Meanwhile,
and be 45 years old, Netflix and then chilling.
That's that is problematic, and it's all in the music too. The lack of disconnection. If a man is calling a woman a bee and a hoe and all these other things, then guess what? The tongue is the first thing to derive separation from us, where there's no love. I'm this, I'm that. And then if I got to come around and I got to call you a B, a hoe, and an N-word, then we don't have no connection. We disconnected. I'm trying to figure out how women laid up with men that have called them a B for 60 minutes. You've been called a B for 60 minutes straight on the track. How's this your man? Sis, this can't be your man. This can't be your man. So we have and one of the biggest issues that Black people have had in this country is allowing white supremacy to feed us. Women lose their own sons because of what we consider to be successful. I realized something too, Dr. Watkins, this stuff started at 10 and 11, how they take away, young boys, they don't have no interest in nothing else, even the things that they're good at, because they feel like, well, I'm going to rap, I'm going to play basketball because I got to make some money. There's no way that's the only way young Black boys believe that's the only way they can make money.
Well, that is a problem. I mean, it's one of those things where, I don't know. I think it's, Akila, I'm asking you, I feel like it might be a little bit fruitless for us to sort of, compare 2021 to, like, say, let's say 1991, right? Because, I'm sure in 1991 there was somebody comparing 1991 to 1961, which would have been very unrealistic to do, right? But in reference, but I think it is important to think about the past and maybe what we were before we started allowing ourselves to just be so degraded. And I keep thinking about long ago when Queen Latifah did a song, and it started off with "Who you calling a bitch?" Now, y'all remember that, UNITY, right? And it was almost like everybody got it because they were like, yeah, like, why would you call a woman that name unless you had no respect for that woman? But now, it's pretty, much par for the
Now
course.
it's common, they say.
Yeah, and I think that, while allowing people to just, evolve in whatever way they're going to evolve, it does seem that we've hit kind of almost what appears to be an awkward level of imbalance and disrespect between the male and the female that is not conducive to us surviving as a community. I mean, what do you think? Am I overreacting on that?
Yeah, before my phone cuts me off, just looking at the baby situation with Danny Lee and seeing how that debacle is going on and how he's disrespecting her on live and how she's, holding the baby. And it is very interesting how he can call her, you were my side chick, you were my side chick, you were my side B, and all this type of stuff, the mother of his child. And we're watching this. It's very ghetto. And you think you think like, wow, you're subjecting yourself to being treated this way, and you didn't get any red flags, like how he treated the first baby mama, how he treated the second baby mama. You're the third one, but you think you're going to be treated any different. So this common way that we have been starting to take bad treatment, going from the Queen Latifah days to now, and it's just like, wow, we forgotten our value. You know what I mean? And yes, we have forgotten our value, and this is why I push so hard to put in my music our value, the value of the Black woman, how we are beautiful, how we can be beautiful without getting naked, how we can be beautiful without cursing and acting savage. And so all we have to do is more of us have to stand up and show the other side of it, because these women are in pain. You know what I mean? No, again, nobody wants to be a stripper and actually, and be like, oh, I have a jolly life. This is just so great. Nobody wants to be disrespected all the time. So they glorify this disrespect. They glorify the B word, calling each other out of our names. But at the end of the day, they're depressed. We all know that Danny Lee is stressed out because she's, exposing the baby and just basically having to cry for help because she just gave birth. That's not, it's not a good situation. No one wants to look up to something like that. So we have to start to analyze how we see ourselves as women and how we, and I just have to do my part as an artist. I have to just keep putting out images that show us in a positive light, like Queen Latifah did.
Well, Jay, let me ask you a question, Jay Ortiz. In your view, coming, as a 30-year-old man hearing all this, how do you define, if somebody said to you, what does it mean to be a Black man? Jay, you can unmute yourself, by the way, Jay. What would you say if somebody said, what does being a Black man mean to you?
I mean, like the beauty of it, or what we going through in America?
Just what does it mean, just in general? Like, what do you think? Like, do you think that there's a standard? Do you think that we just, it's Netflix and chill, we just be who we want to be? Do you think that there's a expectation?
What do you think? There's all types of I don't think there's one specific Black man, right? Like, I don't think everybody's just lazy or everybody's a go-getter. I think you have different types, but I think the Black man that we want, or that, you know what I'm saying, that I represent, is the hardworking Black man, the family man, the taking care of the entire, taking care of your queen, you know what I'm saying, and just being innovative and not needing a handout, being strong, right, being masculine. So I think that's the Black man I represent. But I see other Black men out here, right, and they don't promote that Black man on TV, right? When you watch Empire, you watch The Chi, you watch All American, you watch all these different shows, that's not typically the black man that's being portrayed. So it's hard to really judge with like what's the black man today, right? All I can speak for is, you know, the black man I am, the black man like yourself that I look up to, and the black man that I put myself around. But it's hard when you see the media because we don't control it.
So, Madam President, do you think that that there's something in the music that's being promoted that affects Black people's ability to love each other? I mean, do you think that when we talk about Black love kind of being, you know, kind of not really being exactly where we'd like for it to be? Like, I think Black love is in this room. You know, I know everybody in here, and we all love each other and have each other's back. So obviously, Black love does exist in certain spaces. We were all at the convention together. There was a lot of Black love there. So do you think that there's something that happens maybe in the media though, where maybe Black love isn't quite what it needs to be? What are your thoughts on that in terms of the state of Black love overall? Not just necessarily relationship love. I'm talking about just like, I love my brother, I love my sister, I love other Black people. I mean, what do you think that is?
Absolutely, Black love does exist. Does the media or music have a portrayal in how Black love is executed amongst strangers and in the community, etc.? Yes, it does. But I also want to say that one of the biggest works on us personally, Black people, is the self-love. Self-love. First, you have to love self. And this is just coming from a parental standpoint, Dr. Watkins. If a mother has an issue with loving herself, it is going to be very difficult for that woman to show love to her children. And that means that it's going to be difficult for the children to develop self-love if they have a mother who has not instilled that in them. So it is very, 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 very important that we have self-love, because anytime a woman is carrying a child and when she births that child is going to get everything that she has on the inside of her. So if she got self-hate, then it's going to be hard to implement that into the child. The child is not going to have a good sense of love for self. I know it sounds all like too deep or something, but it's real, because the psychological aspect of liking yourself, loving yourself, it starts early, right? So you understand how you look and what you look like as early as 2nd and 3rd grade. I think we just had on Fly Nubian Queen, one of the sisters had a conversation about a 10-year-old committing suicide. So we cannot pretend that we don't have to have an internal power inside that has to be implemented in our children, because guess what? Our children are going out in a war zone. So if we got an internal war zone of self-esteem issues, then you're going to go out inside a world who won't like you in the first place, an environment that's not for you. We got a lot of stuff that we battle against. Of course, that's going to have an effect on how we love one another, how we treat one another. And a lot of times I have to check myself too. You know, if I'm around my brothers and sisters and I feel like, you know, I ain't feeling this. I ain't feeling this environment. I ain't feeling these people. You know, I'm about to pull out. Look, I don't like what's going on around here. However, I got to remember, you know, to just kind of remember, keep peeling white supremacy out of my head. Remember that my brothers are not my enemies. And a lot of times we have to come into terms with when they are not themselves. When Black folks are not being loving, they're not being themselves. When Black folks are not being caring to one another, they are not being themselves. Like stage 4 and 5 of cancer, it's too much in you. I can't change it. I'm gonna have to leave you right there. But I think naturally, brotherly and sisterly and lovingness is within us naturally.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm gonna share some. I wish Akila was still here because I'd like to hear Akila's perspective on this. Oh, there she is. Looks like she came back. She keeps bouncing in and out. So Akila, this is going to be a last question that I want to ask you, and I'm gonna start off by telling a little story. So people who follow the platform, first of all, everybody who's watching, I'm speaking with Jay Ortiz, Madam President, and Akila Nihonda. You can follow them all on social media. The information is right there on the screen. So I hope that you'll support the people that support you back. Follow them. They're all very talented, very smart people. So some of you who follow the platform might know my story about the gangster goose. Any of y'all ever heard my story about the gangster goose? You ever hear that? Okay, so let me tell you what happened. All right. So you know that I'm married to this pretty lady right here, who changed my life, and I have no shame in sharing that. And one of the things she makes me do is she makes me get my big butt out and run, right, so I can stay in shape. So one day we're running down this trail, and the other runners that were in front of us start coming back, and they said, well, we couldn't keep going down the trail because there's a goose in the middle of the road. And I'm like, it's a goose, it's a bird. Like, what are you talking about? So I was like, come on, let's just keep going. Ain't anybody scared of no bird. So I walk up, right, and there's this goose just right planted in the middle of the road. And I'm like, why is he in the middle of the road? So I was like, okay, let's just walk around it, because he's standing there like he's got some intentionality in what he's doing. So I said, okay, well, let's go around him. So we try to go right. He moves to the right. I try to go left. He moves to the left. And it was like mano a mano. Like he's like, you're not crossing this pathway, right? So I'm like, okay, I am not gonna get punked by no goose, whatever. But he's staring right at me. He's not looking at my wife. He's looking at me, right? And so I take a step forward, and his wings kind of came up. And I was like, damn, this goose is like ready to fight me. So I'm sitting there trying to Rolodex in my brain, like, I wonder if goose have, you know how animals have like secret powers that you don't know about, where they could claw your eyes out and kill you. So I'm like, a goose can't hurt a grown man, can it? Right. So then I take another step, and then I actually have a picture here just so y'all can see, like, his neck got real long. Like he stretched, like his wings went up and his neck stretched really long to where he was almost my height. And I said, oh my God, this goose is ready to fight me, right? And I'm sitting there thinking, this is crazy. I'm getting kind of concerned right now. So here's what I noticed, right? I looked over, and I'll show you a picture of what this looks like. I saw that he was standing next to his woman. His woman was sitting on a pile of eggs, and she had no idea that her husband was about to get in a fight to the death with another grown-ass man, right? She had no idea that we was about to throw down, me and this goose. Like, she's just sitting there without a care in the world. Like, just, like my man, he got it. My man's got it, right? And nobody taught the goose to think this way. Nobody taught that goose how to be a man. Nobody taught his woman, if you will, to how to be a woman. They just kind of had this natural state, right? The male protecting the female. And when I picked up on it, I was like, okay, I see you, partner. All right, I got it. Okay, no problem. So we turned around and went the other way, right? Because I actually have respect. I was like, okay, good for you. Protect your family, man. So, Akila, this is my question for you. So it almost seems like these geese were in their natural state. That's my point. They were just in this very natural state. The male had a job. He knew what it was. The female had a job. She knew what it was. And nobody taught them any of this. Do you think that the black man and the black woman, when I think about that story, I looked it up, that story with the baby, where this woman just had his child, and from what I understand, and she's on the internet fighting with him, trying to show receipts to prove what he said ain't true, and he's like, you don't mean nothing to me. Like, it almost seems like that's not natural. Like that's gotta be traumatic to just have a child and then end up fighting this much. When that man should be protecting you and that child and taking pride in the fact that you just gave him the greatest gift one human being can give to another. Am I talking crazy right now, or what are your thoughts on that, Akila?
No, you're absolutely right. They're both being out of their nature. In the Nation of Islam, we have MGT and FOI. The MGT is the Muslim Girls in Training, where we are literally taught our role and our nature, because we have to get back into our nature. The FOI, the men, they are taught their role as a man, because you just got to humble yourself and realize that you do not know. We have been taken out of our nature. So we have to be retaught, re-educated, and we've been miseducated, like Lauryn Hill, says. So yes, we're dealing with two people who are out of their nature, and that should never, I couldn't even watch them arguing because I saw that she was holding her baby. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Now, when they did their individual lives, I listened to that, but I couldn't mentally watch two people fighting while a child was in the room, a baby that's ingesting and consuming all of this drama. Mm-hmm. So yes, we're completely out of our nature, and it takes women to teach women how to be a woman, and it takes men to teach men how to be a man. And so a lot of us need to get back into some classes. There used to be classes in school, you know, even etiquette classes and whatnot. We need femininity training. Men need manhood training. We need to get back to that.
Wow. Well, you know what? Y'all have said a lot, and this has been a great conversation. So what I'd like to do is let each of the panelists kind of give a closing thought. Maybe, you know, just about 60 seconds of just, you know, what you think in terms of what you learned from this conversation, where we go from here, what you see in terms of the state of hip hop and how we can confront that as Black people. So, Jay, I know I didn't narrow down the question. That's because there is no question. I know you're smart and creative, so I just want to hear what you think. So go ahead, hit that button to unmute yourself. And Jay, what are your closing thoughts you can leave us with?
Yeah, no, I was listening. So for me, I think that the main thing I learned, or I think I'm gonna take away from this conversation, is we as Black people need to own our media, right? Because media is how we're promoting hip hop, is how we're promoting that we should play sports, is how we're promoting everything at this point. So I think that we need Black media. We really, really need Black media. We need Black ownership in our media, whether it's our music, the music labels, and you know, everything else that's going on. And with that being said, you know, I don't want to take too long. You can follow me and stay in touch with me at J Ortiz NFT on Instagram, at JAYORTIZ NFT, at Art from the Heart, which is ARTFRM the Heart, and at Art from the Heart NFT Gallery, which is AFTH NFT Gallery. And yeah, that's my piece. Thank you for having me.
And Jay didn't get a chance to mention that he formed what I think is the first ever NFT art gallery in Philly. Is that correct?
So yeah, I formed the first ever standing NFT art gallery in the world. And what standing means is if you've ever been to an NFT show, they're like 30 days and then they pick up and they leave. My gallery is a gallery that is simply made for NFTs. And when you come and you leave and you come back, it's still there. All right. So, and that was specifically what it was made for. There was nobody that did that before us, right? That's Black owned. So yeah, NFT gallery, we're the first ever. We're not the first Black. We are the first ever standing, and make sure, you know, y'all check us out.
I love it. I love it. All right. So Madam President, your closing thoughts. You are muted.
All right, I just want to say thank you for having me, Dr. Watkins. It's good to see my family. Of course, I think the best state of hip hop is having my sister rise to the top, as she is a queen sitting on a throne. Folks should continue to know her. Jay is also a part of hip hop, so I feel like D1, he's a part of hip hop, and I believe this is the hip hop that the conscious community should be constantly having in their ears, because these are people who are saying something that gives you life and not something that continuously kill you. I would just like to say I'm Madam President. You can find me at One Madam President. I'm the owner of the Freedom Company. You can follow me on Instagram, the Freedom_Company. And it's always a pleasure to be with you all. And that's it.
All right.
Akila Nihonda, your final thought.
All right. Let's just get together. Let's think about why we are important, why we matter, and carry that to our brother and our sister, our family, our community. And I am on Instagram. I am on all the platforms, and I'm going to continue to create music and put out videos and media that reflect what I desire to see Black people doing and looking like and expressing themselves like. And I think that more of us need to be the change that we want to see. So if you want Black people to look a certain way, you look that way. If you want Black people to talk a certain way, you talk that way. If you want a certain Black business, start the business. And that's all I got to say. Thank you so much, Brother Boyce, for having me.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And when I tell y'all that everybody in here is doing amazing stuff and going to be a star, I can't wait to see it all manifest. It's already manifesting. I mean, every person in here is an entrepreneur, is a thinker, is an incredible artist, incredibly talented. You know, Jay is super creative. His paintings at the convention sold like hotcakes. This man sold thousands.
Yeah, it was insane. And mind you, guys, I've been rapping much longer than I've ever painted, so it was fun. It was phenomenal for all of that just transpired the way it did.
Yeah, yeah. And Madam President is an extraordinary poet, extraordinary spoken word artist, and a major, major leader. She's a very natural leader. That's how I met. I met Chanel, aka Madam President. We met. What was it? 2005. Is that when we met? Approximately. Yeah, and she was the president of the student body at Kentucky State University, and she's family to me, and I love her to death. And so I'm so happy to have you. And Akila just kind of just burst on the scene like it makes you think about when I don't know, when DMX or Lauryn Hill came out, just like that artist that's just like whoa. And so I saw Akila Nihonda, and she's super creative, because what I love about what you do, Akila, is I love how you do your verse once a week, and it's always on something relevant, and it's extraordinarily good music, and your mind works like a computer. And also your husband is a part of all the projects you work on. And I just thought that was great. So when I saw that, I really wanted to reach out, and you received me. I was happy to receive and meet you and your husband. And I just really want everybody to understand, like, look these people up, because this is your community. This is where your empires are built, right? So so I want to say thank you to everybody for coming in. It was great to have you here, Jay Ortiz, Madam President, Akila Nihonda. We're going to continue this conversation. And at the end of the day, let me just say this before I let everybody go. And as you hit the thumbs up button, Black people are going to win. Like, Black people are going to win. We cannot lose. We cannot lose.
Absolutely.
Right? They've been trying to defeat us for 400 years. They ain't won yet. They might defeat a couple
That
of people.
part.
Yeah, they can't kill us. They cannot stop us. So
Too strong.
let's just be clear. We will win this battle. No questions asked, because with people like this, with teammates like this, it's not possible to lose. So keep winning, keep being great. God bless everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. Have a good evening. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.